All right, good evening. Okay, so the plan tonight is we're going to go through a bit of Project Cars 2. So, without further ado, let me get my desktop going. Just resize so you can see what is going on. There we go, that looks better. Okay, so we're in Discord here. Drop out of that. First of all, how do you get Project Cars 2? Project Cars 2 is what we use for all of our weekday races. So you'll need that if you want to join our Tuesday or Thursday night races. We do one night of Xbox and one night of PC. So one way of getting Project Cars 2 is through Steam. So Steam you can download from, I think it's steam.com, or if you just search for Steam, you'll find it. So Steam, dead easy, you can buy loads of games through here. We're just going to come in here, search for Project Cars 2. If it will respond. We've been having a few issues with Steam tonight. You can see it acts like a bit of a browser, so it's kind of loading stuff here. You're going to give me... Alright, let's kill that. Try again. There we go. Project Cars 2. Okay, so click on Project Cars 2. It's going to take you to the page. If you don't own it, you'll have options to buy. So if we go down, you can see Buy Project Cars 2, Buy Project Cars 2 Deluxe Edition. So first question, what is the difference between the two editions? The main thing is that on the Deluxe Edition you get all of this content down here included. So as these things become available, you don't have to pay anything extra to get them. They'll just be downloaded. There may be one or two cars that you get extra, but nothing that's really going to impact any of the stuff that we do on the league. So you can run the basic 59.99 version of Project Cars 2 and join our league, and that will work fine. I've been told that there's a deal on at Amazon to get a digital download code from Amazon, and it's I think half price at the moment, so that's an even better way of getting in there. So that's the first question. So what else do you need? So if you've got Project Cars 2 either on the Xbox, which you would get from the Xbox store, or on the PC, which you would get from Steam, what else do you need? So on the Xbox, Xbox has built-in voice. On the PC it doesn't. So we use a piece of software called Discord, and that's also available as a free download. Open that up here. So we have a channel on Discord, and that allows us to have voice chat between various members of the channel whilst we're racing. And you can set this up with push to talk or just voice activated. It works pretty well. So let me just show you very briefly how to do that. I'm going to get a new window here, and we'll just go to Discord. There we go. So this is the website you want to go to, discordapp.com, and we'll put that in the comments, the description under the video. Download it for Windows, and then you'll have the client. This is the client. So if you want to join our channel, there is a link on our Facebook page. I can also invite you through the app. But if you go to our Facebook page, there's a link on there which is set to never expire, so it's always going to be valid. And what you'll do is you'll come into Discord, you'll click on the big plus sign over here, and it's going to ask you to create or join. So we're going to join, and then you'll just paste the link in here and click on join, and you'll be in our group. So let's get out of here. Okay, so let's say you're in our group, and you can see on the right hand side we've got a number of people online, a number of people offline at the moment. So Mike is currently in our voice chat. So if I want to connect to voice, I just click on here and under voice channels, and now I'm in voice chat. Okay, and you can see as I talk, my little icon lights up here. If I want to hang up, I just come down here to disconnect, and now I'm not in voice chat. So if I join, and I can mute, I can deafen, which basically means I can't hear what anyone else is saying, and I can control that down here. My user settings, go in there. I can do things like voice and video, and I can set my input and output devices. So these are currently set up to be my Oculus Rift for the microphone and the headphone, and I can up the volumes so it's easier to hear, and I can choose between voice activity and push to talk. So if I set this to push to talk, I can bind it to a key on my, or button on my steering wheel, and other people on the channel will only be able to hear me whilst I have that button pushed down, which is quite useful for things like streaming, where I may want to talk to the channel, or the YouTube channel, rather than other people in the race. So I'm going to set that back to voice activity. And one of the things I would recommend here is input, and particularly output. Set this to something other than the audio output that you have for the game. So if you think about when you see race drivers in a car, they have their helmet on and their earphones in the helmet, and then the car is all around them. This gives you that same sort of differentiation between the noise of the car and people talking. It makes it much easier to hear what is going on. So that is Discord. That will start up automatically when you boot up Windows each time. So that's just running in the background, and then that's all we need for voice. You will also need a steering wheel and pedals. It's really difficult to do it, to drive Project Cars 2 with anything else. So having said that, I'm going to now jump us into Project Cars 2. So let me get that started up. We're going to Steam. Steam's already running. I'm going to go to my library. We'll run Project Cars 2, and I'm going to run it in desktop mode. Okay, now let me resize this. This is the challenge going between desktop and VR. Right, so you should be able to see we're now getting into Project Cars 2. Okay, so first things first, you've downloaded Project Cars 2 and you need to get set up. So the first place you're going to head to is options over here. So we click on options, and we've got 6 buttons to choose from. Gameplay sets things like how much assistance you're going to get, how authentic the experience is going to be. So you can see I've got steering assistance turned off, braking assistance turned off, driving assist set to authentic, damage type, performance impacting. These are all things that are going to affect me in a single player situation. They also dictate what I'm going to try and use if I join a multiplayer race. So if I choose steering assistance to be on and the multiplayer race doesn't allow that, it's not going to allow me to enter that race. At the top we've got on-screen guides and display as well, so if I click on screen guides and display, we get details for things that are going to display on our HUD, so things like the track map, turn indicator, driving line, etc. A couple of the things that you want on here, spotter and proximity indicator, particularly if you're driving with a screen and not VR. It helps you to know when somebody's coming up behind you or is alongside you, and it makes it much easier to not crash into other people, which will make you much more popular in online racing. So that's the gameplay menu. Let's come back out of here. Controls, we will need to set this up. So there are 4 tabs at the top here. First one, control scheme, determines whether or not you're using a steering wheel and pedals. So this, it will probably automatically detect this if you've got everything plugged in and turned on when you start the game. Configuration is where you set the dead zones and sensitivity. So dead zone is how much you turn or move something before an action is registered in the game. That's the fact. I'm going to come back because it's getting kind of annoying. And it doesn't really work well. Okay. Did that take? Menu music, there we go. That's what we want. Let's get rid of that. So here's where this audio option is where you customize the volume of different things. So we've got a master volume up here which is controlling the volume of everything, and then relative to that we have the menu volume, that's the clicks when you click buttons. Menu music, which is that annoying opera music that they play, and then various volumes for engines and tyre, collision, track surface, etc. So some of these things you might want to change. So pizza car radio, you might want to turn that up. You can also configure which audio device is used. So by default it should pick up your standard desktop audio, which is normally fine, but if you for some reason wanted to change that to something else, you could do that here. Some people would recommend maybe turning up the tyre volume so you can hear when your tyres are slipping, but that's up to you. I find it's probably okay in the standard setting. So let's come back. So we were in controls. So we talked about configuration being the dead zone and sensitivity. Assignments is where we start getting into things like which buttons are going to do what, which axes are going to do what. So we have 5 submenus under here, so you can see you can click through each of these items. So motion is exactly what it says. My steering left and right, my throttle, brake, handbrake button, clutch, gear up, gear down, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth gear. We can scroll down. Right, reverse gear. Okay. So normally steering left and right, throttle and brake should already be set based on you having a steering wheel and the pedal setup. The clutch should also be there if you have a clutch pedal. But this is somewhere you can go just to confirm that everything is linked up correctly. The next button is vehicle. So this is going to give you controls over ignition, starting the engines, headlights, which is a good one to have mapped, KERS and DRS, which are good to map if you're in some of the more like Formula type of cars, and the pit speed limiter, which is another good one to have mapped. If you have enough buttons, things like the brake bias, that can be something that's good to adjust on the fly. But these are essentially things that you would want to change whilst you're driving, because the brake bias, anti-roll bar, things like that, those are things you can change in the tune-in menu when you get to the driving stage. So you'd only assign buttons here if you wanted to be able to change them whilst you were moving. Assistance, so again, buttons to change and toggle assistance. So if you want a button to be able to turn steering assistance on and off, or stability, traction, etc. Camera and view. So cycle camera, that's a good one to know what that button is. We've had some instances where people jump into a multiplayer race and they're on the bumper view when they're used to being in the cockpit view. So knowing what the cycle camera button is very useful for being able to get back to the view that you're used to. And then game, these are things for like pausing the game, resetting the car, but the important ones I would say here, cycle Motec LCD, so that will cycle the display on the dashboard in your car. And cycle HUD display, so that would cycle the game overlay when you're driving. Is there anything else here? No, I think that's it. So force feedback is the last tab. I generally leave this alone, but this is where you can control and fine-tune how the force feedback feels with your wheel. So if you find it too strong, or you find it too self-centering, like it's pulling towards the center too much, then you can adjust some of these settings here to fine-tune how that feels. So let's come back. So visual effects, this is where you can turn on all of the fun stuff. So exterior sun flare, interior sun flare, bloom, raindrops, all of that sort of thing. And there's a video calibration here which will run, and this either does performance or color matching. It's been a while since I've run it. Performance is our next one. So this is where we're setting the screen resolution, whether we run in a window, which I'm doing at the moment so I can jump backwards and forwards between different applications, and things like reflections and other items. So let me come back out of here. Then we've got camera, which is set in the field of view and for different types of camera. So these are the cameras you would cycle through with a C key. And then movement, which controls how much automatic movement happens in your camera view when you're not using a head tracking device. Okay, let's just see. Okay, so just a couple of messages popping up. Alright, so that's the options. If you have launched the game in virtual reality mode, then you'll have this option here enabled. If you have triple screen set up, then you'll have this option enabled, and you'll be able to set up those things specifically. So one of the other things to do while we're over on this side is look at my profile. So this is where you'll see your driver profile, your affinity, any images and videos that you might have saved. So if I go into videos, I think we've got the last race that we did, which is saved. So I've got my replays in here. My images, I don't have any affinity. It's showing that I've driven the GT3R 2,000 miles. It's not too bad. And I've driven 742 miles of Watkins Glen, which is a bit excessive. Then if I go to stats, this is kind of interesting. So this will show on the left, I've got my competitive racing license. So this is showing that I'm currently at D and I'm 68% of the way to C. And I can enter qualifier esports events, which I've not yet done. I've got some results here, so I've got 78 starts on solo, 33 online, and I've won 14 online and 9 solo, so it's not too bad. So that's my profile, and you can get into here at any time by clicking up here as well, and that will give you your stats. So that can be useful to see how you're progressing. The safer you are driving, that's the letter. So the safer you are, the more this percentage is going to go up until the next letter. The more successful you are, the more the number changes. Okay, so moving back towards the left, we click on community. We have online championships, community events, time trials, and esports. So online championships is something that we experimented with, and it didn't really work for us the way we wanted to operate it. Esports is basically your ability to kind of watch things. There's not really any driving going on here. Community events, these are challenges put out there by the project cars to developers. So things like currently we have a 6-day Nürburgring 24 showdown in the GT3. So you can enter these time attack type events, post your time, and you'll see the fastest people on the right hand side that you're competing against. So typical menu for Project Cars 2, the sort of angled boxes at the top show you what's coming up, what's finished, and so on. Quick play. So this is where you'll spend most of your time if you're practicing or competing online. Custom race here is a single player offline race, right? So you can choose to have a number of AI cars race against you at any track at any time. You don't have to find a race online. So if we click on custom race, you'll see the options you've got available here. Your vehicle, your track, the race details, and the session settings. These are going to be consistent across the different types of races you can do. So for example, anytime you can select a vehicle, clicking on the vehicle select will take you to this screen. You can scroll through the makes on the left hand side. There's all sorts of cars here. You can choose a car, and that's going to be your car for that event. Same with the tracks. You click on the track, you choose your track. We can go through that. You click on select, that becomes your track. The race settings, you go in there, you can choose your type of duration, time or laps, the date, the session start time, which is the game time, not the real life time that it's going to start. Time progression, which will give you how time is going to progress during your race. So let's say you did a 30-minute race at 50 times progression, then you're going to cover 24 hours of real life time in the span of the 30-minute race that you're running, which means it will transition from day to night and back to day again. You can set your season. You can go through all of the seasons here. You can add weather, so we can choose different types of weather. We can have it light cloud, we can have it snow, and then we can have it sunny. So literally you can go through all sorts of weather conditions. You can have up to 4 slots, I think. So weather progression sync to race. So this means that it will divide your race time or distance by the number of slots you have, and that's how the weather will progress. If you sync to the session, it even if you press a number across the session. You can set your start type to standing or rolling, formation lap, and pit stop. So this is quite neat if you want a mandatory pit stop. So you can do that. Save that, and then practice and qualifying. So this is where you turn on or turn off your practice and qualifying sessions. And the options there, come back. So you click on this box here, that takes you into options. You can set how long you want the road practice, how much weather we want, what time progression we want. So similar options that we had for the race, and the same options for qualifying. And once we've done all of that, then we can click on the opponent settings. We can choose the type of opponents we're going to have. So we can choose their skill level, how many, what type of cars they'll have. So same class, multi-class, or identical. We can choose where we're going to start. So set all that up, and rules and regulations. So there's 5 options here. So pit exit penalty, do you get penalised if you cross the white line when you exit the pits? Track limit, do you get penalised for going off track or putting too many rules over the curbs? And this generally enables or disables the use of flags. So those are your basic settings, and they carry on pretty consistently across the board. And if we start this, we'll get our 10 cars all racing against us. Private testing is, as you see, similar options, but we don't have race, practice and qualifying because obviously it's a private practice session. But the same options, same screens for selecting all of these things. Browse online is where you would join other multiplayer sessions. So it's going to go and search for some multiplayer races to join. And this is where you would come to join the Peach State PCA League race. You would see a race in the lobby called Peach State PCA, and it would be run by myself, Andrew Olsen. So you would see the track, it would have a join button, you would click on that and it would let you in. So before we get on to creating an event, I'm just going to find a race to join that we can join. So if the yellow R is highlighted, you can't join it because they're already racing. So let's find something. Here we go, Monza, GT3. Let's try joining that session. Okay, so we've clicked on join. It's taken us into this screen. If I click on the car, I can now choose a different car. So I can go into my GT3R. We're at Monza. So once I'm happy with this, I click on join, and it's going to load up the sim, and I'm going to be in my car, ready to go. So for league races there will be a password, and we would come in and so you'd click on join, it will prompt you for the password, you type the password in, that password will be published on Facebook, and that's generally just to keep the league down to people that are in our group. So when it says ready, you can click on that. Now we're in the race. So you can see we are in a bumper view. So I press C until it comes back to the view I want. Put the pit speed limiter on, choose a gear, and off we go. Okay, so my controls are mapped. I've got upshift, downshift, throttle, pedal. But I don't have much field of view, so this can be kind of interesting. Go off with the pit speed limiter, up to speed. And so up the top you can see I've got a mirror. That's the virtual mirror. Okay. Cold tyres, and you see I've got a warning for crossing the line. Not very good estimate on crashing people. So that mirror gives me a slightly better view. Obviously the real mirror is cut off halfway, and I can't see the window. Terrible job of demonstrating how to drive here. We do a lap and then bang it out. So everybody else in this race, you can see there's what looks like another 911 behind me. These are all real people. So they're all real people that have been set to crash into them. Now I now leave re-race the GT3R. I've done no setup work at all on this. Tires are cold. So let's look at a couple of things while we're driving. So on the bottom right hand side we've got the gear I'm in. You can see it goes up to 6. Beneath that is the fuel. And you'll be able to see that on the dashboard as well. Rotate. I've got my speed next to my gear change on the red counter, and to the left of that is my indicator for the heat on the tyres. So they'll start off blue and get progressively greener as you go along. I'm not driving particularly well, so I'm more focused on talking than driving. If I want to pit, I'll do this driving for a pit. These cones here are my pit speed limiter. So I've got manual pit stops on, which means I set my own pit limiter. And I drive along and I'm looking for somewhere to stop. You can see how I drive down. Okay, so if I want to jump out of here, I hit escape, and I go to return to pit box. That puts me back in here, so I can see we've got a couple of people in here. So that's joining an online race. From here I can go back to the online lobby, I can see who's in the race, I can invite people in. Which it keeps prompting me to do. some reason it keeps choosing to return to game. Yeah, Project Cars 2 doesn't like you doing other things really whilst trying to use it. So, but whilst we're in the practice and qualifying stages, anybody can join as long as they've got the password. You can also, the other way of getting people in is to invite them in. So let's jump out of here and I'll show you how to create your own event. So if you want to have a race with your friends or other people in the group and you just want to practice together, you can do that yourself. So if we click on Create Online Event, the same setup that we had for the custom race, but there's some additional options up here, particularly on the host settings side and realism. So we have Monza, we have the GT3R, we have 6 laps set up, standing start, real-time progression, a little bit of weather. Okay, so pretty basic stuff. We have no practice, we have qualifying, we can turn that off. Actually, we can't turn that off. So here's the thing. If you turn off qualifying and practice, it will be difficult to invite people in. Basically, you'll be able to invite people in whilst you're in the online lobby, but as soon as you click on ready, then that's it. Nobody else will be able to join. So let's save that. So, opponent settings, those are the same as before. You set the maximum grid size, you set the maximum human opponents, which is always going to be one less than the maximum grid size because you have to be in the race. Fill with AI opponents, so you can fill up any remaining spots when the race starts with AI, which can be kind of neat. So if there's only a few of you who want to race but you want a full grid, you can do that. You can set the skill level, you can set the aggression and the field type. So that's the same setting that we had before, where you can set the same class, multi-class, etc. So we'll set the same class. Rules and regulations, same as before. The one difference here, well, there's two differences. Competitive racing license, if you set that to on, then racing in this race will count towards your competitive racing license and others. So this is a good thing to leave on because it helps build up your rating. The minimum competitive license required is important as well. In fact, this is probably the most important setting on this screen. This determines the minimum rating that somebody needs in order to join your session. So if all of your friends are the very new beginner guys, U100 or U1500 people, and you start at F100, they won't be able to join. So this you need to change down to the minimum. It will always default to, I think, the minimum below yours. Sorry, and you can only set it, as it says here, you can only set as high as your own reputation. So I can't go above D for this, right? Because otherwise I wouldn't be able to join my own race. Now, setting a higher value, so let's say we went for E, that's going to mean that I get people that have done a little bit of online racing, but they may not be pro. So I can control who can get into my race by doing this. So very important setting. The other important area to go is host settings. This is where you set the lobby name. So we would typically go for something like Peach State PCA. We can set the password, and unlike Xbox, so this is one of the big areas where Xbox differs, because you can't choose the lobby name for Xbox. It's always called lobby, and the password is automatically generated, whereas on the PC you can actually change it. Privacy, so this is key. If you set it to public, it will appear in the browse online list that we saw earlier, where we joined the race at Monza. If we set that to friends only, then you have to invite people into the race. It doesn't appear in the lobby, or in the browse online section. If you do it as private, again, you have to invite people in. The difference between private and friends is that on friends only, you can have your friends choose to join. They'll see you're in there and they can join your game. Whereas private, you have to invite them. So private is kind of like if you've got friends who don't necessarily want to be in your session, then make it private. Broadcast means, do you want to broadcast it in a television style broadcast? To do that, you need to have a person nominated as a director. So that's, and I think as a broadcaster as well. So these are people that aren't going to race. All they're going to do is change the camera angles and things like that. And wait for race ready input. So this will allow people to use the pre-race screen, as it says here, to adjust their tuning setup, pit strategies, or make final adjustments before the race begins. So I normally leave this on because people will normally want to adjust their fuel levels between the qualifying and race sessions. Realism, this again will set what is allowed. So a lot of these things like allow auto start engine. It doesn't mean you have to have auto start engine, but just that it's allowed. Some of these where it says false, so I tend to false interior views because it's a simulator and we drive cars from the inside. False driving line off, I normally have that set to yes because I think you should be able to learn the line. Default setups, I don't set that to yes because people want to be able to tune their stuff. Manual gears I normally set to yes because it's paddle shift. It's really not very difficult. Force realistic driving aids, I tend to set that to yes as well because I want a simulator experience. Allow anti-lock, yes, yes, yes. Most of the allows I will set to yes. Most of the force I will set to no. Force cooldown, fuel depletion, tyre wear, authentic, pit stop errors no, mechanical failures no. So this is my typical setup. I'm going to make it so it's realistic, but I'm not going to force you to have a default setup, and I'm not going to force things like manual pit stops or allow mechanical failures. So once you've done all of that, you click on start, your session starts, you're in the lobby, and you can invite people into your race. Obviously based on the host settings that we set up here, that will dictate whether or not you have to invite people or whether or not people can just join. So if you just want to pick up race, set it to public, don't set a password, off you go, you'll get people joining your race. So that's a good way to practice racing against other people. If you set the rules and regulations so that this is at a decent level, then you'll get good people joining your race, and that will mean that you don't get driven into by a 12-year-old. So that is basically Project Cars 2. You have a career mode as well. This is single player career. You create a driver profile and you navigate through okay, I'm getting lots and lots of prompts. See progress, my career. Okay, so this is a view of career progress. As you go through, you get options to navigate from one series to another. So let's say I complete this series, I can go to maybe Prototype C or Formula Renault. And so you navigate across to the top tier racing series. So that's quite a neat way to actually just race on your own time against the AI and try different cars. Okay, so I think that covers all of the menu options. So let's see if anybody's out there looking to race. So we go to quick play. Let me see if I can get into Discord. Okay, it doesn't look like Mike is started. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute mine, stick my headset on, and I am going to create a race. So we said we'd do this at Donington Park, so that's what we shall do. So we'll come in here, let's find Donington Park, here we go, National Circuit. Don't like the Grand Prix loop, so we'll do National. Race settings, we'll do a 6-lap race. This is all good. Practice, let's create practice on. 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Real weather, time progression's off. We don't want to start at midnight because it'll be dark. So we'll start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Save. And 15 minutes, that's plenty of time for qualifying. Realisms, false default subs, no. So this has kept it. We'll go with visual damage, so there's no need to have people's race ruined because they crashed. So good there. Host settings. So I'm going to set a password, and this is not going to be very cryptic. PCA DE1. There we go. It's going to be public. Save that. Same class. So this will allow anyone to have a GT3 car in this race, which will be interesting. Rules and regulations. We're going to set this to be you so everyone can join. And save. Then we click start. Okay, so I'm going to invite Mike, and I think everyone else is away. It's just me, Mike. It's PCADE1. Oh, you're running VR. Yeah. So I'm having issues. Actually, okay. Project Cars 2 keeps wanting to prompt me for, well, Steam keeps wanting to prompt for people to join. It's really annoying. PCADE1. Oh, what a great choice. What a great choice. Yeah, I opted to go without VR today because it's just easier to like navigate around the menus and things and check. DE1. You should have an invite for it as well. Something is. Okay, so for those guys looking at the menu, you've got tuning set up, which will let you into things like the race engineer, where it will give you hints, ask you questions, and it will offer you to make changes. Some straights. There we go. And or you can edit the setup manually. You can go through the various screens and go and choose different options in here. And come back. You can share setups. You can save setups. Alright, so let's try driving.
Go, go, go!
Delta Echo 1. Cold tyres, so you can handle that. Pretty rubbish. Well, Cliff, you did choose the Cadillac, but yeah. This is the first time I got a car sideways, so it's always been a favourite. Right where you are now, Cliff, that kind of basically a view it gets sideways in front of you, and we drifted in a little sphere all the way around this corner. to invite, but anyone on the stream is welcome to join. If they're online in I think 30 minutes of practice, so there's plenty of time to get fired up and a pretty good trip. Maybe somebody said they don't like this track. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, the longer one was a fake circuit they put together for the Grand Prix, but the Grand Prix track had to be a minimum length, so they put a little loop at the end of it. Donington, or actually both, really. So we can go to monitor here and go and see what other people are up to. So we pick the car, we can go and see them drive. Yes, I can hear you. Oh, yeah, so the people on YouTube can probably just hear me talking because I think it's not going to pick up the Discord stuff, but yeah, for anyone wondering why I'm talking to myself, that's all the headset going and we're chatting in Discord. Yeah. So one of the challenges of being a host is that you can't duck out and get a new car. So I don't think so. Something of a stream, it's like it keeps prompting me to go back and invite people in, even though I haven't pressed the thing to invite. There we go. It's somehow got the invite hooked up with one of my pedals, so if it's not on 0, it tries to invite people in. Let's go and drive a bit more.
Go, go, go.
One may have a slightly different name. If anyone asks a question on YouTube, so you can get answers. This is running full screen windows and we'll have a look at those in a second. setup bit, so go under easy engine braking, so we have our fuel, just that way, so we can just put there. Imagine we might want to do a suspension. Tires, and try soft. Okay, so let's see if we have any questions. We've got one person watching, which is cool. Thanks for sticking with us. Yeah, it's just live streaming. So, I mean, I can kill the stream because I think we've pretty much covered everything up to this point. Just go ahead and do that. Alright, thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions, feel free to join our Facebook page or post in the comments below, and we'll get back.